Hi, everyone.
Hello.
I'm Kira.
I'm Max.
And this is In Case It Helps, the podcast where we have a little chat, share a little fact, and dole out some advice to your questions in case it helps.
Shall we?
Let's shall. Shout out to Max, by the way, for making that incredible opening title card.
Thank you.
And scoring the music with the drums. We were inspired by The Nanny.
That theme song is just iconic.
I think they actually used to have a live band playing on stage at the live tapings.
Man.
Danny, confirm or deny, our script supervisor on Thunderman's worked on The Nanny, right? Bonnie?
Yes, she did say that.
She did, and I remember her say, which I was like starstruck.
Imagine having the budget for that now.
Yeah.
Can't even get a live taping, let alone a live band and a live
I know.
taping. What a beautiful experience that must have been.
Oh my God, yeah.
Kira,
Max,
can I ask you some questions?
please ask me some questions.
Little hors d'oeuvres for you and me.
Yum, 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 delicious.
Question number 1.
Yeah.
What was the best thing you ate this week?
I had 3 different incredible fried chickens. We went to a fancy movie theater that serves food, the Alamo Draft House, and had very good chicken tenders.
Spicy honey thyme, right?
Yeah, it had a
I think
really
it was
long
hot
name.
honey and thyme.
Hot honey spicy time. It's hot honey spicy time. And then we went to this incredible cocktail bar called Death & Co. for my birthday, which is like rated the #1 cocktail bar in the country at one point. It's originally from New York, but they have a few throughout the world now. And I was really excited to go for my birthday. Wasn't expecting the food to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And their fried chicken was one of the best bites of fried chicken I've ever had. Yes, I was several cocktails deep. That might have made it taste even better, but I do feel pretty confident that if I ate it now stone cold sober, I would still be very impressed.
Quite exceptional. My favorite that evening was the crab toast.
Oh, the crab toast was so good. I mean,
Unbelievable.
honestly, my favorite thing was the pickles.
Oh yeah,
They
there was
were
just a
so
big bowl of different
good.
pickled vegetables.
You know I love a pickle. And then the third fried chicken was in Vancouver at a Michelin Guide Thai restaurant that we've been dying to go to called Song. They had a lob fried chicken that was unbelievable. It was so fun to get to have 3 very different, but kind of in their ways, equally enjoyable fried chickens within a
was
couple of days.
So delicious.
What's the best thing you ate this week?
Pumpkin bread.
Pumpkin. I made that.
Yes, Kira brought home a giant pumpkin. Very exciting. And you made a bunch of stuff from it.
I ended up turning the pumpkin into a jack-o'-lantern, 3 different kinds of seeds, a Kashmiri chili garam masala, like spicy one.
Those were great.
Thank you. I made a cinnamon, sugar, maple, vanilla sweet one, and I made like a garlic parmesan salty, savory one. And I was like, well, I don't want to waste the pumpkin guts, so I'll save those. And so then the next day I was like, well, let's make them into pumpkin bread. And then when I squeezed them, I got broth, and I was like, well, I might as well turn the broth into soup. So all to say, I ended up turning the pumpkin into a jack-o'-lantern, 3 different kinds of seeds, pumpkin bread, and eventually soup. But the pumpkin bread itself was a citrus almond pumpkin bread with a bergamot citrus mascarpone topping. Bergamot being the flavor in Earl Grey tea, because when I was in Vancouver, our friends Danny and Noah got me turned on to London Fogs, which is like a latte with Earl Grey instead of coffee.
The best thing you did about this was that you warmed the pumpkin bread up.
Of course.
And so like the mascarpone kind of melts a
I
little
love
bit into
you,
it.
you see.
That's what love is.
You deserve warm pumpkin bread.
To be loved is to be served warm pumpkin bread, as
So
the phrase
true.
goes. That was the best thing I ate this week. May I ask you the second question?
Please.
What was the best thing you watched this week?
Vanderpump Rules. Okay, our best friend, Danny, got really into it, and she was like, you have to watch it. And I feel like I need to contextualize, not that there is like, quote unquote, a right way to watch any kind of TV, but we do tend to watch reality shows through kind of like an anthropological study lens, which I know sounds a little bit like I'm making an excuse for watching reality TV, and I probably am a little, but it's true. Like, we like to break down, like, what are the miscommunications and why are they happening? And also, like, we watch it from a television production standpoint. Like, we're always thinking, what's the likelihood that this was edited to create a different narrative? Who in the editing room probably made that decision? Who's the story producer on this? So that's my caveat here, but it is the best reality show to ever exist. You couldn't write this shit. It's like an incredibly written high school, college narrative drama. It's like Gossip Girl. It's just unbelievable. The first 2 seasons is like the craziest 2 seasons of TV I've ever seen. And I have never seen a group of people lie the way that these people do. It fundamentally changed my understanding of the world around me as a fairly trusting person. I didn't realize that people were capable of lying this hard and with this much commitment. And they're all cheating on each other, and they all like cover for each other because they all have dirt on each other. And also, my favorite part about it is that it starts in 2012, and so like no one's on their phone. Democracy isn't at stake. They're just like worried about the cute guy over there and if he's sleeping with their friend. Like there's something so innocent where I'm just like, I wish my problems were as
like that at the
simple
moment.
as like
Yeah.
that. I mean, I don't really, but you know, they're like, gotta go to work, gotta pay rent, gotta make sure that my boyfriend doesn't cheat on me again this weekend. And there's something sweet and escapist about that. Although I am now on season 3 and like iPhones are in, people are saying swag and eyebrows are getting thicker. That's how you know it's 2014.
It's like time.
It's really fun watching the culture develop from 2012 to like 2016, having lived through it as kind of a young person, watching people who were like a few years older than me go through it.
One quick note, a parallel that this is a completely uncooked take, so if it's soggy in the middle, I'm sorry. But I do think there might be a link between reality TV and like Grecian epic.
For sure.
The way we like interact with modern archetypes because we don't have access to the amphitheater.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's it called? When the people go and there's people and they fight. Two go in, one go out.
Gladiatorial.
Gladiators.
Right.
Do you ever watch Selling Sunset? They're gladiators.
Did you have a favorite gladiator growing up?
That is the most boy thing you've ever said.
Roman Empire, right, yeah.
You guys remember when I accidentally went viral? I was on like 3 different
I
news
accidentally went viral.
Well, okay. You accidentally went viral. It was my post of you. But this video where I asked Max, how often do you think about the Roman Empire when that trend started? And he was like, all the time, every day. And a bunch of news websites started reaching out being like, hey, can we use this TikTok? And I was
Local
like,
man
sure.
thinks about Roman Empire 20
also,
times a day.
Isn't it funny that now, like, that's my Roman Empire is just a totally
I know.
normal thing to say?
Yeah.
This is why I love etymology, because we watched that one happen. But all of these other words that we use every day, we didn't get to watch happen, but they all
had that.
happened from one way or another. Yeah. Anyway.
That was cursed.
Well, it is spoopy season.
Spoopy season.
What is the best thing you watched this week?
The other day we watched Exporting Raymond.
Oh my God.
Which is
shout out Phil Rosenthal.
Phil Rosenthal, creator of creator of Everybody Loves Raymond, of course.
Phil Rosenthal, if you ever want to come on this show,
please.
You are in the top 5 of people who I would love to have. You're always on my list of like, if you could have dinner with anyone in the world, you're always there. Phil Rosenthal is the creator of Everybody Loves Raymond, my parents' favorite sitcom. I grew up with an episode of that show on in the background at every moment, and I think 90% of my sense of humor and my desire to be on multicam sitcom comes from it. My parents speak in Raymond quotes. It's in my blood. He now makes Somebody Feed Phil, which we love.
If you've seen Raymond, you know that he has this incredible ability to take the very mundane and make it just brilliantly funny. And this documentary follows him as he goes to Russia to try and adapt this TV show for a Russian audience. And what you end up with is just this lovely, fun, sort of like fish out of water travel log meets behind the scenes industry expose. And he's facing like cultural collision and he's trying to juggle leadership in a creative role when there's linguistic differences.
It's also so fun to see what the cultural differences are in Russia and specifically in Russian comedy, right? Because comedy is such an extension of culture because you're either making observational comedy about the parts of culture that exist or you're hyperbolizing parts of culture. Like comedy is so linked because you need surprise. And in order to have surprise, you have to have standard. And especially because Everybody Loves Raymond, like you said, it's about the humor in the mundanity of day-to-day life of this kind of family. And
but day-to-day life in Queens is not the same as day-to-day life in Moscow. And so it doesn't fly.
It's also very heavily based on his own Jewish sense of humor, which overlaps very intensely with Ray Romano's New York Italian sense of humor. Those are very linked, Italians and Jews in New York. And so that style of comedy also doesn't necessarily translate. And it's just so funny. And I was so impressed by how able he was to just sit in the discomfort. There were like 6 different points in the documentary where I was like, if I were the showrunner on this, obviously I would have pushed through because Lord knows I've sat through some uncomfortable production meetings as a producer. But like, I would have just been like, I think this was a bad idea. I'm going home. And then, spoiler alert, it works. The version they make of the show goes for many years and has like 4 spin-offs.
Like the most successful Russian adaptation of an American show ever or something like that. And then Poland does one and a bunch of other people do them. A couple of other Phil notes while we're here. LA people, Phil is just opening a diner with food legend Nancy Silverton in Larchmont called Max and Helen's, named after his parents. It's very sweet. We're very excited about that and we will go soon. And I think his daughter Lily just got married.
Yes!
Congratulations,
I
Lily.
find her so charming.
She just seems wonderful. The most wholesome cinematic universe we have access to.
I feel like you can learn a lot about me by the men in media that I idolize. I was talking about it recently. I was like, it's Phil Rosenthal Hank Green, Sam Reich,
Mhm.
Brennan Lee Mulligan. It's just like sweet, gentle, but passionate and fiercely smart and creative men who like lead their companies with grace and make a difference in the world for the better and make it look easy. Like I've amassed this little group of like idols that I just looked up to so much. And Phil is
It's
one of them.
nice. There are little.
You know he liked one of my tweets once?
Phil liked a tweet.
Yeah.
I'm a little nervous
Yeah.
around you now.
I know, you
You're
should be
close to
stoked.
famous.
Yep. That's the thing that sets me close to fame.
That's your claim to fame. Anthony Bourdain liked a tweet.
No. Anthony Bourdain tweeted about the Thundermans. Anthony Bourdain tweeted,
Crazy.
"Oh, the Thundermans, your family-friendly antics never failed to delight or never ceased to delight." And I just found this out 2 months ago, and it broke my brain. I can't believe I didn't know about it when it happened. He had young kids at the time.
Right.
And he must have been watching the show with them. But he's Anthony Bourdain.
That's crazy.
The fact that he
That's
not
really
only
crazy.
watched my show, but that he tweeted
Liked it enough to tweet about it?
I told a couple people, and they were like, "Wow, that's cool." And I was like, "No,
You don't get it.
I don't think you're understanding what a big deal this is." And they're like, "Well, yeah, but he's dead." I was like, "First of all, watch it.
Right.
Second of all, that makes it even more like
Yeah,
heartbreaking.
right.
Like that this is a piece of a finite amount of expression from this person's like, oh, I'm gonna cry if I talk about it too much.
Will you cry if I ask you the best word?
Depends on how good the word is.
Kira, what was the best word you learned this week?
Okay, I read a book called A Certain Hunger, and it is immediately my favorite book I've ever read. Definitely content warning. Don't read this book if you're under 16, 17, 18, maybe minimum. It's very sexual. It's very graphic. It is about a woman who is a food writer and a cannibal, essentially. But it studies the intersection of like love and lust and cuisine and violence. There's a lot of references to actual real life restaurants throughout the world and a lot of references to Italian towns that we've spent a lot of time in. There were just like a lot of reasons to love it. It was a recommendation from my best friend. But I have literally never had to stop and look up a word so many times in my entire life. There were probably 4 words per page that I didn't know. I actually bought a dictionary to read this book because part of reading for me is getting off my phone, and I was so annoyed of having
to pick up your phone.
grab my phone to look up a definition. So I started using a dictionary and writing down the words with pen and paper, and then at the end of each 2-hour reading session, I would import them all into my phone. So that being said,
Are we getting the list?
after finishing A Certain Hunger, I have a list of probably 150 words that I didn't know.
Damn.
Palimpsest, somnolent, paroxysm, lambent, schlag, crepuscular, carapace, florid, sinuous, lissom, hard scrabble. I'm probably saying half of these wrong.
Hard scrabble?
Yeah, I haven't
One word?
learned them yet. Uh-huh.
Do you have a
Compunction.
definition for it?
I was trying to do the whole list first.
If there's a word I don't know, I have to stop. It's my whole thing. We talk about it.
Involving hard work and struggle.
Hard scrabble. Sure. All right. Sorry. Onwards.
Compunction, puling, castigate,
Castigate.
miasma, contrition, malingering, implacable, louche, metonym, apotheosis, sapid, ascetic, atavistic, doggerel, rictus, virago, whinging, cosseted, restive, bewail, gloaming, airy, and mendacity.
Iodine, and
One
thorium,
book.
and thulium, and thallium.
Exactly. Antimony, arsenic, aluminum, selenium, and hydrogen, and oxygen, and nitrogen, and rhenium.
That's crazy.
I really like susurrations, whispers, because it's
Oh,
almost
lovely.
onomatopoetic.
Double S or SC?
S-U-S-S.
S-U-S-S.
Susurration.
Susurration.
Next episode, remind me, I'll give you all of the words that I learned from reading the book less, because I've got a bunch of good words from that too.
You're zooming through books right now.
I am. I'm reading, I'm baking. I'm in my 1950s housewife, but with rights and way fewer Quaaludes era.
Nice.
That's my life right now. It's great. I recommend it.
I love that.
What's the best word you learned this week?
You mentioned it. The best word I learned this week is apotheosis.
Did you learn it from me when I told you because it was in my book?
I'm slightly changing the goalposts here because I think it's a word that actually I knew, but I don't think I would have been able to generate it. It's not at my fingertips. And so I'm trying to change the way that I learn words to make sure that I only really consider myself as having known them if I could use it in a sentence.
Yeah, a couple of the words on this list, I was like, oh, I know that. And then I was like, if someone asked me to define it, I would be like, it's that.
That one, yeah. So with that in mind, my word this week is apotheosis, which is like the peak, the zenith, the quintessence of something.
Should we do a little etymology? Because we know theo is usually God, like theology,
So
religion.
Theo is God. What is apo?
Apo probably means top.
Means from.
Oh, it means from.
Apo is Greek for from. Theos is
The top.
God. And is the noun ending. Apotheosis, literally from God, God-given. I'm going to talk about Rome again. I'm sorry.
Take a shot every time Max talks about Rome.
If you were a half-decent emperor in ancient Rome, the Senate might gather together as you come to the end of your tenure, and they might vote to apotheosize you.
Whoa.
Literally to like make you into a god, and then they'd put you up on temples and they'd put your face on the coins.
And then
all
you're
that.
famous?
Then you're famous. You're kind of famous, guys. Warning, if you're a bad one,
Ooh.
because you like, I don't know, lost a war or whatever, or they didn't like you or you were corrupt, they would do the opposite.
That
No
boy
apotheosis.
is corrupt. Sabrina Carpenter on SNL was incredible.
Incredible. No apotheosis for the bad guys. Instead, you get damnatio memoriae,
You get damned for eternity.
the condemnation of memory.
Whoa!
Which is baller, right? So they do the opposite.
Wait,
They'd like break.
damnatio memoriae?
I think that's it.
I want to make a TV show where there's like a broody teenager with like heavy guy liner and like dyed black hair, and he decides to be a rocker, and he decides to call himself, his artist name becomes Damnatio
memoriae. Oh, like first
Memoriae.
name,
Yeah,
second name.
that becomes
Incredible.
his first name, last name.
I love that. And anyway, so what they would do is they would destroy all of your busts, and they would like melt the coins you were on, and they'd scrape your name. Very good.
Don't destroy my bust.
They'd scrape your name off the marble, and so you don't want
Oh my
that.
god, Roman cancel culture?
A little bit, yeah. Mass unfollowing. I learned one other apotheosis thing while I was researching this, because in order to get my brain to remember something, if I just learn a bunch of things that are related to it, it has more glob to stick to.
That's why I learned the etymology of words that I don't know, because it helps you remember what they mean when you look up the story, because you get more info.
In the rotunda of the US Capitol, there is a fresco on the roof, huge painting by Bramini in like the 1860s, called The Apotheosis of Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Georgie sat up there, he's togaed up, he's drippy as hell, and he's sitting on a cloud.
Amazing. I would like a plump drag queen to go by the name of Rotunda Fresca.
Maybe that's in my
You
future.
could call her
Who
Tunny.
knows? Anything could happen.
Anything could happen.
We're tuneful today.
Anything could.
Sure.
We are tuneful.
Can I ask you the next question?
Yes, please.
The next question is your $1 million idea of the week.
An airport gym. At every airport, we would try to get these gyms in as
Right.
many airports as possible. And it is a gym and a locker room and a shower and all of that. Because I've been so many times at an airport where I have all this time to kill, and I woke up really early and I'm getting to my destination late, and I won't have time for a workout that day. And I think I have 3 hours to kill. I could go do an hour workout, shower, dry my hair. However, there would need to be a safeguard in place to make sure that people don't just do the gym and then get onto the plane sweaty.
Yes.
Because I think that would be bad.
Unfortunate. Chemical shower on the way out?
A sprayer that you have to walk through.
Maybe they give out specific gym clothes that you change into there, and part of the membership is laundry.
And as you walk out, they give you a deodorant. Like, I don't think anybody post-gym who's sweaty, who's handed a deodorant, is going to not use it. Well, people surprise me every day.
People have some weird stuff, man.
So that's my idea. We got to work out some kinks. But airport gym membership, we need a punny name that matches airport and gym.
You want to push 2 words together, get an air portmanteau.
Oh! Wow! Portmanteau is a word that means suitcase in
How
French.
appropriate.
Yeah, there you go, suitcase.
Many levels.
Oh my gosh. So portmanteau is a word that was created by Lewis Carroll in Alice in Wonderland. He borrowed this word from French that meant suitcase to describe a word where you take 2 words and you fold them together, like a suitcase with 2 halves, which was a portmanteau. But fun fact, when this book was translated into French, they translated it to mallette, which is like the more modern French word for suitcase. So in French, when you're talking about 2 words that get joined, a suitcase word, they call it a mallette. We call it a portmanteau, which we took from them, but they don't even use it. I don't think we need to come up with the pun now. That was the pun.
That works. That was great.
If you can come up with a good name for my airport gym membership, drop it in the comments.
100%.
What's your $1 million idea?
I love my morning coffee. My little espressos we were talking about. I love stepping into the sun. I love grinding the beans. I love the sound of the machine as it chugs and it's very loud, but it's this kind of lovely little like orbard now.
We wake up every morning because the machine has a little button that says start grind.
Start grind.
We wake up every morning and we sort of herkle-durkle for a minute and we roll around and then we kind of look at each other and we go, start grind, grind. Start grind.
There's one problem with it. When I get to the bottom of my espresso, all I want is another one. And when I get to the bottom of that espresso, all I want is another one. But any more than like 2 and a little bit shots and my heart starts rehearsing for Riverdance. And so what I know that I need is Naloxone for caffeine.
Whoa! I will be your number 1 customer.
There is a slight problem. It turns out caffeine already has inverse agonists, and they have a slight tendency to cause comas.
Oh.
But I think we can figure that out. I don't think that's beyond us.
Is an inverse agonist not just an antagonist?
I don't know the answer to that. I've always just heard them called inverse agonists.
That's
but,
fair.
like-
Quickly, we should also talk about what naloxone is.
Oh,
It
yes.
is a nasal spray that can reverse the effects of an overdose of opiates.
Mhm.
If you are ever at a music festival, you should be carrying naloxone because there are a lot of people who
Someone
might
around you may need it.
be doing drugs, and we focus on harm reduction around here because there will always be people using substances, just like we use caffeine to wake up. People use all sorts of substances for all sorts of things. Some are better than others. Caution is important, but naloxone is good. It can save lives so that people don't die over doing a stupid mistake. That's my after school
love it.
special PSA.
Yes,
for the week.
exactly.
Great. What's next?
What was the best fact you learned this week?
I learned when and where the first vending machine was invented and used and what it sold. I would like for you to guess before I confirm or deny. Also,
No.
I could phrase this in the form of a lateral question if you prefer.
Yeah.
Shout out Tom Scott and Lateral. We love you guys.
From my understanding of what a vending machine is, this is where I'm going to start, right? Mechanically, I would imagine that there was a much less advanced version without all the robotics. I'm sure it has some kind of mechanical lever. You put in a coin. I'm assuming there's no electronics. It solves one thing. And therefore, I think we realistically probably could have had that as early as 1800s.
The first vending machine was invented in 1880, and those who used it had a very easy way to tell their friends.
How interesting.
I'm sure I could lateralize this better,
No,
but
this is great.
that's kind of their format, right?
Yeah. My first thought is it's some kind of communicative device, but then they can only tell their friends if the friends also have the communicative
No.
device. Oh, does it sell stamps?
It's old postcards.
It sold postcards.
Yeah.
How sweet.
Little postcard vending machine in 1880s England. Isn't that cute?
That's very sweet. I love that. How did you discover this?
I was watching How It's Made and doing middle school math homework. I've been really trying to get off my phone, and it's leading me to some really interesting places. When we were in Vancouver, we went into this very cute bookshop, and there was a middle school math workbook, and I loved middle school math, and I was like, I could not tell you how to do even subtraction, let alone long division. I do
Like the
everything
proper
with
way, you
mental
just-
math now.
right.
And so I bought this book, and it's been really fun to remember how to like multiply and divide decimals and fractions. And also like, as a kid, you're just like, ugh, these are like random rules that people are telling me. And as an adult, I'm like, oh my God, the system of mathematics, the fact that people figured out step-by-step ways to, first of all, like symbolize real-world physics and happenings and then turn them into a language that you can manipulate to get the right answer. Like,
And the fact that it never breaks.
it's mind-boggling.
We take the central axia of mathematics for granted.
But people had to figure them
Yeah.
out. Math is amazing.
Yeah, it's
Math
incredible.
is amazing. So anyway, yeah, I was watching How It's Made and doing math and drinking tea because I've been getting into loose leaf tea. And they were making a vending machine, I think.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
That's so cool. You're living your best life.
Just call me a nerd. I can take it. What is your fun fact of the week?
Strap in. Eels. You know them and you love them, but do you know where they come from?
The sea?
Where eels come from, how they reproduce, and where they're born has been like one of humanity's greatest riddles, I'm not kidding, for like thousands of years, since like Aristotle time. His theory was that it was raindrops mixing with mud. A couple hundred years later, Pliny the Elder, take a shot, talking about Rome, his theory was that eels scrape against the rocks and the little bits of flesh that come off become new eels.
These are
Crazy.
such whimsical
In the Middle
takes.
Ages, there's this like Reverend Bishop guy who claims that he saw eels coming out of the thatched roof on his house. Other people say they're horsehairs that fall into the lake when the horses trot by and they animate and become eels. A bunch of people have other stupid takes, and then eventually we get something promising, which is that everyone's favorite microscope developer, Antoine van Leeuwenhoek,
Ugh, my favorite microscope.
your
developer.
favorite. You can't stop talking about him. He uses one of his newfangled lenses to look super, super close at an eel, and inside he sees tons of little baby ones. And he's like, oh, they give birth to live young. They must be mammals. And everyone's like, great. And so for a while, eels are mammals, which is not as crazy as it sounds because they can crawl for like hours at a time on land.
Were the eels inside just like open sourced, just like going around the body, or was there like an organ that was holding?
They were in,
Do
I
they
think,
have
what's called like a
uterus?
swim bladder, I think it's called.
Okay.
Turns out, unfortunately, though, they weren't baby eels. They were just a ton of parasitic worms.
Yeah.
So we're
I
back to
was
step one.
wondering if that
We're
might
back
be
to
the
step
case.
one.
When in doubt, it's always parasitic worms, man.
More people try. Sigmund Freud apparently devotes like a year of his life to trying to figure this out.
And he's like, eels are your repressed thoughts
Exactly.
come to life.
The eel is your mother.
And you want to have sex with it.
And that's how more eels are made.
Shout out my boy Freud.
Shout out my Freud.
I really like that dress you're wearing, Freud. What a nice Freudian slip. Sorry. Sorry. I'm
Good.
sorry. I'm so sorry. Cancel the podcast now.
A ton more time passes, and millions of dollars are invested into studying eels. And eventually, scientists kind of figure out that when eels get old in the river, they kind of sink to the bottom, and they all swim out to sea. And we're like, okay, they must be going out to sea to breed.
Sorry, I'm just laughing at the idea of eel grants.
Eel Grants.
Hi, I'm Eel Grant.
My name is Eel Grant, Mr. Eel Grant.
Please call me Grant. Mr. Eel was my father.
The bit density in this episode is through the roof. We're breaking the meter of bits per second.
It's because we haven't got to hang out this week.
I know, I've been busy.
Max has been busy,
Yeah.
and so it's all bubbling.
It's all bubbling.
Much like the water that the eels are in.
If they're in a soup, maybe.
Rivers bubble at room temperature.
Okay, onwards. We think the eels go out to sea, so we're like, okay, they must be
They
going
sink them
out
up.
there, having babies and dying. And then somehow the babies just appear at the top of rivers around the world. It's a mystery, but that's kind of like the best we had. And then this Dutch biologist, a guy called Johannes Schmidt, spends 20 years at sea. And he has a great idea. He's like, I'm just going to hunt for smaller and smaller eels. Because the smaller they are, the younger they are. The younger they are, the closer it must be to the place they're born. And eventually, he finds an eel that's 1/4 of an inch long. And he's like, this must be a day or two old at most. So this is where the eels are born. And where is he? He's in the middle of the Bermuda Triangle, in a place called the Sargasso Sea, which is weird for many reasons. I think it's the only sea on Earth that isn't surrounded by land. It's surrounded by ocean currents that just kind of stop at the edge of it. And so it's a sea. It's super, super deep, like 4 miles deep, and it's full of plant life. And this now is kind of the leading theory of where all eels come here to breed and die. And then all of the larvae get washed into all of the rivers. And scientists were like, this is a crazy discovery if it's true. Let's try and test it. And so they tag a bunch of eels. And lo and behold, the eels, at the end of their life, kind of sink to the bottom of the rivers, they flow into the ocean, and they all try and swim to this one place. Some of them get fished en route, some of them get eaten en route or whatever, and some of them make it to the Sargasso Sea, and then the trackers stop working. They put like fake female eels in the Sargasso to see if the males will like come and nibble at it or whatever, and nothing. Radio silence from the eels. They're either very shy or very clever. And so it has been 2,000 years, and no human has ever unequivocally seen a wild eel mate.
That makes me incredibly uncomfortable.
We just think it happens there. And that's like the best take.
Hate that.
We've been
Awful.
to the moon,
Or
and we
have
don't
we?
know
We have.
how eels mate. I mean, we do know how they mate because they've artificially done it in labs, but no wild eel has ever been seen mating.
That's fact.
A little bit. With that in mind, should we dive into some questions?
Yes, let's dive into some questions.
Beautiful. Our first question today is from Tama.
Hi, Tama. Cool name.
Tama writes, can you learn to be funny? And if so, how?
I don't know if anyone can learn to be funny. I do think anyone can learn to be funnier. And I think
For
you
sure.
can learn the craft of comedy. You can learn to be a better comedy writer. You can learn to be a better improviser.
Right.
Even if you don't necessarily have like the natural inclination towards it. But I do wonder if there isn't just kind of a certain amount of like, how much funny were you exposed to? How much did your sense of humor get developed young? That just kind of is in there. I don't know if like a 35-year-old who's never made a joke can learn to be effortlessly funny or to like make it look effortless.
There's a great TV show in that. Take someone who's never made a joke in their life, who just doesn't understand comedy, and in 6 months' time, you book them a comedy gig, and you just have to like train them and see if it's there, and you make a little doc about it.
Because like with music, right? Like if you are completely tone deaf, you're probably never going to learn to be a great singer. Like if you are truly tone deaf, like you can't discern the difference between pitches. There is a certain amount of ear training that you can do, but like you can't really be taught to be musical from a tonal perspective. Maybe you have great rhythm or whatever. Yeah. But if you have some amount of ear ability, ear training can get you very far. If you have some amount of vocal ability, training the instrument of your voice and learning how to use it, and also strengthening like the physical muscle that is required to like use your vocal cords, you can get better. So yeah, I think you can get funnier. I don't know if you can get funny from not funny. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's entirely true. I don't know that everyone has the capacity to cross the threshold of being like publicly funny. Like this is a funny person that everyone agrees upon. I think maybe few people have that. I do think everyone, as you say, can be funnier than they are. And I think that the way that you get there is by breaking down the kind of the emulsion of comedy into its subservient parts, right? Wit is one. Practice word association. Try writing quick back and forth dialogue so that you just tread down the grass on those paths in your brain so it's a little easier to follow in real time. Language. Keep learning, read more. Yeah. And the final part that's kind of the secret sauce, I personally think, as you were talking about earlier, is awareness. Comedy is commentary, whether it's satirical or incisive or not. it doesn't exist in a vacuum. It is inherently tied to context, and therefore the better context you have, I think the funnier your comedy has the potential to be.
Right. Like, the more you know about the world around you, the more interesting you are. I also think the more you know, the funnier you can be.
If you're not observant about the world,
Right.
and if you don't genuinely have curiosity for it, if you are like intransigent in your belief system and not willing to explore the world around you, I think your comedy will probably land flatter-footed and shorter-sighted than it might otherwise.
Myopic and stompy.
Myopic and stompy. Should we dive into question 2?
Let's dive into question 2.
Jules writes, when things start going well for me, I immediately start waiting for the other shoe to drop. Is this anxiety or realism?
A little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
I know I feel this sometimes for sure. I think for me it comes from like an understanding that life goes in phases, and that like there are phases of my life where things are great and I'm firing on all cylinders and I feel happy and hopeful and connected, and then there are phases of my life where things are tumultuous and stressful and scary and feel awful, and those phases usually feel like they're never going to end. And I think there is just a skill to be practiced of acknowledging that while things are good and going, yeah, these won't last forever. But like, instead of letting the anxiety take over of like looking out for when it's going to go bad, just like enjoying it, letting yourself enjoy that things are going to be good. I think when things are bad, I tend to think they will be bad forever. So when things are good, I am trying to gaslight myself into thinking that they will be good forever. Because I'm
I don't
like,
think it's
if I'm
gaslighting.
going to feel that way when I'm bad, I might as well feel that way when I'm good.
Yeah, I think we're very inconsistent with it, right? People poison their good experiences by fear that they're going to turn into bad ones or be short-lived.
And then you don't even get the good out of it.
And then you don't get the good out of it. But if you're doing that, then logically consistent behavior is telling yourself that your bad experiences aren't as bad as they are because they're going to be good again soon. Like, you have to do both.
That is where the line between anxiety and realism lives.
Right.
And that's such a thin, blurry line that's always moving around.
Yeah, I think one thing that can just like kind of help you build a slightly more sturdy foundation for this is just anytime something good happens, kind of go through your brain and actively build a file of, did the shoe drop? Or was it just good? And eventually that'll happen enough times, I hope, touch wood, everything goes nicely for you, that you can start sort of like overriding the sense of anxiety there because you have built enough proof.
That's what, for me at least, like confidence is.
Totally.
The result of the empirical evidence of enough times that I was nervous and then things went well.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's a really good way to look at it. Like, how many times have things just been good and the other shoe not dropped? I guess if you've had a very fraught life where the shoes dropped a lot, this might not work.
Of course. And there's always, like, you know, unlucky scenarios.
And also the shoe
things.
does drop sometimes.
Right. But nothing fights anxiety like evidence, man.
And is it anxiety or is it realism is such a funny question because
It's
like
not realism. That part of the question I can
No,
answer.
I know. I think Max and I both see ourselves as realists, but I think outsiders would call me a pessimist and would call him an optimist. But generally, you're right about everything all the time, always. So I think you probably are closer to being a realist than a pie-in-the-sky optimist. But I also think I'm being a realist a little bit more than I think you sometimes think
But the
I
other
am.
thing is that, like, none of us are soothsayers, right? As long as you're prepared for whatever the worst case is, you then don't need to live in the worst case, assuming it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Just know you've got it prepared and then live in the best case, because until it happens, none of us are going to know, and I have a nice time.
It's none of us is going to know because none
Not
is,
one of us is going to know.
Yeah, not one of which I think is wrong and stupid.
Yeah, none of us
and
are
none
going
of us
to.
are going to know.
Yeah.
Feels better. So I fully support the use.
I
But
was going to say, aren't I?
yeah, aren't I is messed up.
Are I not? That's a weird one
It
too.
should be am I for
yeah,
sure.
Amn't I?
Is it anxiety or realism? I think it's both. A lot of two things can be true in our answers for this question. That's the
But that's the lesson
theme
of
of
the
this
day.
podcast episode.
We
it would
contain
seem.
multitudes.
We do contain multitudes.
At least two of them,
Not
anyway.
multitudes.
We contain two
I
multitudes.
got Southern there.
On to our final question. Amble writes, I would love to start learning random facts like you guys do. How should I start?
I love this question.
I do
and
too.
there's so many things I
Exciting.
want to say. First of all, yay! Welcome to the light side. Okay, so first of all, to be a person who acquires a wealth of interesting knowledge, you need two things. One, intellectual curiosity, which it sounds like you have, and two, memory. But beyond that, I want to point out that you called these random facts, which,
Yes.
true, they're random. It's random to know that no one knows how eels mate. But nothing is random. Everything around us is like real and happening. And these facts, they're everywhere. You just need to know to look. Most of the facts that we learn because someone says a thing and then we go, huh, where does that word come from? Or who invented that? Or how long has that been around? Like recently we saw a Snack Wars YouTube video of like someone trying US snacks versus UK snacks. And it was Jammy Dodgers versus Oreos. And Jammy Dodgers were from the UK and Oreos were from the US. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess Oreos were invented in the US. what year were Oreos invented? And we look up what year are Oreos invented. And then in doing that, we find out that a company called Hydrox made a chocolate sandwich cookie with cream filling
Looks just like an Oreo.
years before Oreo. They had like a 5-year head start to market. And then Oreo made just like a slightly tastier version of the product with way better marketing and became Oreo. Then we were like reading about the Hydrox company, and then we're learning about like Nabisco. And then all of a sudden you have these fun facts. And then in terms of like remembering them, write down, make a little notepad of every like fact you learn, word that you learn, person who you heard has a book that you want to read. Like write a little digital garden where you plant the seeds of things that interest you that you can then pick up and follow whenever you want.
Another great way to memorize things is if you have someone in your life who can teach.
Yes.
Tell the facts you learned too. I find speaking them just like completely sets them into my memory much longer.
Luckily our
And
friends
also-
like weird facts, so
yeah,
we share
exactly.
them
And
a
they
lot.
tell us a bunch of stuff. And there's one more thing about learning fun facts, which is recall, because sometimes you know all of these things, but if someone said, give me a fun fact, all of them vanish.
Yeah.
And so there's this game I like to play. I was going to say I do it every morning, but I don't. I do it like half of mornings, where I will look around in the room and I will pick an object and then I will say a fact related to that object, and I will try and go until I run out of facts related to each other. Like a big monitor with our faces on it. The monitor is made by LG, and I would close my eyes and I would go, LG is headquartered in South Korea. Korean is an isolate language, so is Basque. The Basque country is in a decades-long fight for independence with Spain. Spain is the biggest olive oil producer in the world. Olive oil is technically fruit juice. The first fruit juice was invented in Italy, or like regularly made in Italy in the 16th century. It was lemonade.
This is awesome.
16th century Italy saw the rise of Mannerist art. And you keep going and you keep going and you keep going until you run out of things.
Incredible.
And you do it a lot and you can get your recall really
We
good.
gotta play that with the friends.
It's like the movies game where you do one actor who's in a movie, who's in an actor, who's in a movie.
I'm obsessed with this.
You're
I
going to be
had
playing it all day. It's super fun.
no idea that you did this.
Yeah, it's just to
I'm a
like,
little freaked out as
get rid of the sleepies.
as
you know?
someone who knows so much about you and the way that your brain
I'm
works.
glad I can surprise.
It's crazy to me that you've never mentioned that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like my thing. Like before I go to an event where I have to be very articulate and I want my brain to be awake, I like to sit in the car and do in my head the alphabet and try to come up with the 3 most interesting words for each letter that I can.
Oh, cool.
Just to wake up my brain.
Bring your
I'll literally
vocabulary
just
to
go
the top.
like articulate, antiquity, algebraically, berate, beatification, borealis. I don't know. Like,
Right, yeah.
and I just try to like get my brain practicing the skill of recall so that things will come to me
That's
more
super
quickly.
cool. Anyway, I hope that helps.
I hope that helps.
Go forth, young scholar. Find great facts
I'm-
and put them in the comments, please. I want to see
Yes.
what facts you find the most this week.
And I'm so
Bonus points if
happy.
it's about eels.
Bonus points if it's about eels. I'm so happy to hear you express that you want to do this because I know it can feel frivolous and silly, and I'm sure we sound a little pedantic and teachy and preachy and annoying, being like, learn more things. But like, it extends to so many things about your values, about your empathy for other people, about our ability to relate to people and to build a better world. Like, it is kind of my form of activism to
Right.
try to get people to be excited about learning in any form. So I'm really, really happy and grateful to hear that question. Good luck finding fun facts. Drop them in the comments. And maybe in future episodes when we do our fun facts of the week, we'll start sharing some facts that we
Pull some
learned
yours. That would be
from
great.
you guys. Oh, I just learned one.
I learned something about potatoes from the
About
comment
potatoes
section. Yeah.
from the comment section. Maybe we just do a little subscriber shout out. This was the very cool potato fact.
Thank you so much. We
So
loved it.
if you comment fun facts, maybe we'll do some subscriber shoutouts in the pods.
You too can be on screen.
This has been great. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Questions in the comments.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Boy.
Whoa, that was great.
Do you like that
I
one?
love that one. That was lovely.
Thanks. I love you.
Bye,
Okay,
guys.
bye.